Welcome to Uncontainable, the sports podcast. We talked about the pain behind the passion and the triumphs that come from that. Man, today I'm here with this guy. He's been my personal strength and conditioning trainer every single time I go back home to Maryland for the past, I want to say about 9 years.
I think so.
Yeah, nine years or so. So he was there with me when I was about 5'6", 5'7", 170 pounds, all the way to being, you know, 190 and 195 pounds. And, even to this day, being probably the biggest and strongest I've been, he's been a huge part of my progression. Jon Wingfield, John, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to be here.
Man, I'm excited to have you on. I think you have a very unique perspective that everybody doesn't always get the opportunity to see or explore, really just get a look into. And that's really, I'm just excited to kind of get a touch on what you see, what you've experienced. Because I mean, going all the way back, you were an athlete yourself, and even
Mhm.
now, being a father raising athletes, I know that must be a very full circle moment for you. But going all the way back, can you talk about your days as an athlete a little bit, and what that was like, especially in terms of your preparation and just how you were as a competitor?
Right, yeah, man. That's a good starting point, man. I started off young, so my parents had me in sports real young. I have two older brothers, an older sister, and then a little sister. So my two older brothers, they pretty much were my trainers growing up. So I started off playing soccer, baseball, football. Later on, transitioned to track. But my older brothers are kind of like set that standard of like this is how you prepare. This is how you just focus on your sport. This is how you train during the off season. So my earlier days started off with just like my older brothers just taking me outside, doing those things that you may do or athletes these days may do with the skills trainer. As I transitioned into like middle school and high school years, I focused on just football and track. And I went through some injuries, got banged up. I'm an undersized guy playing football, so I went through some injuries, shoulder injuries, ankle injuries. Managed to, in the WCAC, Bishop McNamara. That was a good experience. And then I went on to play in college at Randolph Macon, a D3 school in Virginia, and that's where I actually got injured. My fibula, had to have surgery, plate and probably about 5 screws in my ankle right now. Um, so that was not the tibia. So the recovery process wasn't as bad, but on top of that, I had to have double shoulder surgery, which I decided not to have because at that time, people who injured their labrums end up tearing it again. So in the football world, it's kind of like just that area stronger, kind of fight through it, things like that. Um, but as I decided to move on from football and focus in on just my older brother introduced me to a guy named Vaughn, his teammate, who was in the sports performance world, and that's kind of how my training career got started.
Man, that's crazy. I didn't know that you had gone through that. That's kind of insane, being like how long we've known each other.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
maybe it's because I'm too busy kind of trying to talk trash to you about your workouts, but we'll get we'll get into that a little bit later.
Right.
Man, so going through that injury, right, and then taking that into your mentality of how you prepare athletes, right? A lot of strength and conditioning training, a lot of that is preventative things. I know that I personally have worked with you on, okay, how do you land correctly? How do you go and be explosive but also be safe, right? How do you run the correct way, running form, footwork, just doing all the different things along with just strengthening your body to
Hmm.
also move as fluently, as fast, but also just be prepared to get through and not put yourself in a situation where you're going to get injured. Just prepare your body for all different types of situations. How did those injuries that you went through transform your mind and, kind of how I put this? kind of, you know, prepare your regimen in terms of training athletes now? Because I mean, you broke your leg and had serious shoulder injuries. And of course, if you could prevent that, I'm sure you would. Um, so what did those injuries at that time, how did they affect how you train now?
So just yeah, those injuries, so they pretty much impacted the way I just approach um just off season and in season. Um, at that time, back when I was coming up, it wasn't many trainers or skills coaches. It was just whoever you had in house. So those coaches at the time, they really focused on just like different foundational things to prepare you for whatever sport you were playing. But they didn't have like the knowledge or at that time, um, the resources to really tap into the YouTubes, to the Googles, to the Chat GPTs. So they pretty much gave their best, whatever knowledge they had. So one of the things that stuck in my head growing up was one of these coaches always talked about, technique can't be beat. So that was drilled in my brain. And then I kind of took that attitude into the training world, as far as just focusing on technique and how technique is going to prepare you for that unknown situation where you may find yourself in a weird position on the court or on the field. So just being prepared for the unknown, doing movements that allow you to have the flexibility to get into those awkward situations and come out not injured. So yeah, so just in general, my mindset has always been, preparing properly, not only for what you know you're going to get, but also the unknown.
I mean, I can definitely say that's 100% evident in your workouts. I mean, I've seen not only just how you deal with me, but how you deal with others. You have consistently focused first on technique, making sure you're doing the exercise right, making sure that you have it down before you're adding weight and adding more weight. I mean, to this day, there are certain exercises where me and you have been going through them and doing them for 6, 7, 8, 9 years. And, you will still have me go and start off like, all right, Lou, we got to just start with the bar.
Right.
Even though I'm just like, dude, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to get on with the workout. You're like, no, we gotta start with the bar. You gotta make sure your technique is right because at the end of the day, it's crazy in that realm that you can go and you could do it perfectly for a week, month, years straight, and then you just have that one day where you're a little off, and that bar work at the beginning kind of sets you back right in terms of your technique, so that when you're doing the exercise and moving weight, that you're effective at what you're doing. So I
Right.
think that's really important, kind of like you said. Of course, growing up as an athlete, you have a certain mindset. You have a certain way that you go about things and the way that you work. How did your craft as an athlete, being an athlete, carry over to your work now, being your craft and how you go about it?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. So, like I mentioned earlier, being an undersized cornerback, I played corner. You had to be precise. I had to be precise. Precision was everything, or else, you know, your margin for error was huge. You know what I mean? So, just making sure I control what I could control, as far as, um, taking the proper angles, which applies in all sports. Um, Conditioning, I can control that. Everybody can control the conditioning, right? So controlling what I can control, and then just stacking on top of that. Um, and that's pretty much how I approach training too. Like, hey, look, let's first control what we can control, which is our strength. We all can get stronger. We all can, build better core stability. We can't all just ask, and be blessed with extra inches of height, but we can control that strength, conditioning, things like that. So that's the
Yep.
foundational things. And then just complementing whatever the athlete is doing as far as skill work. I never want to take away from the skill work sessions or whatever the regimen is within their sport. I want to complement it. So my mindset has always been to complement, play my role, be that piece of the puzzle that, is definitely plays a pivotal role, but also respects everything else that the athlete has on their plate.
Mm. And I mean, that's real. That's very evident in how you train. you're not the type of person that's like, all right, I got a group today. I'm just gonna have everybody do the same workout. It's like, no, all right, track stars, y'all gonna be over here. Y'all gonna be doing this. Basketball players, I got y'all doing this. Football, all right, I got y'all doing this. And honestly, just the way that you put it all together is, amazing. And even just speaking on the foundational things, the strength, the conditioning, and all that, right, is all just so evident in what you do, but also just how you're doing it. And for anybody that works out with John that's watching right now, just know that the proof is in the pudding, just with the guy that you're working out with, because he will tell you that he's tired and all that. He doesn't want to work out that day as much as he wants, but he runs marathons. Okay. He runs marathons. Any lifts that I've done that, he's joined in on, he's been able to do. Um, I mean, he told me the other day I was home and I was lifting with him. He was saying like, "Lou, I don't have you do any workouts that I wouldn't or couldn't do on my own." And of
Right.
course, me being me, I'm talking my trash, but I really believe it because that, that's the type of guy that's the type of guy that John is. So that's really just amazing. And even though his workouts can be definitely, a little crazy in my opinion, just because your body's gonna be sore afterwards and during it's not gonna be easy, it's gonna be hard. You know, John being who he is, you really go and step through every single workout with whoever you're working with. You go make sure they're doing it the right way. You're always there coaching them up, being vocal and all those things. And honestly, like me having been able to find you and make you, my main strength and conditioning trainer, in my opinion, is a blessing because what I've been able to do, with you is in terms of basketball, is taking me from here all the way up to here. Just because, I went from not being as fast to like, okay, I'm faster, right? I can run longer. My footwork is better, even all the way to my jumping ability, right? There was one time where it was like, oh, okay, like I'm excited if I touch the backboard, or I'm trying to touch the backboard. Versus now, I have a 38, 40-inch vertical somewhere up there, and
Right.
that's in no part lacking. I mean, in or rather in every way, a big part of that is this guy I'm on this interview with right now because of the different types of things that he's had me do, right? But the other part of that is, when I've had little nicks, little small injuries and all that, I've still been able to come to you and we've been able to go and work through that and not only strengthen that part, but also strengthen the other parts of my body that are doing well and healthy and making sure that those stay up to par. For you, when you got an athlete coming in, they're injured, right? They have a boot on their leg, they have a cast on their hand, or whatever the case may be. What is your mindset when it comes to adjusting,
Mhm.
and how are you coaching them differently or encouraging them to push through despite the adversity that they're feeling at that time?
Right. Yeah. Like adversity is going to come randomly, at the most inconvenient time sometimes. So, first, just like I always just try to tap in to see where the athlete's mindset is or how they're feeling when they first, walk through the doors. So, oftentimes you may hear me ask an athlete, "How you feeling today? How's your body feeling today?" And just having that, that first couple of exchanges with them to see where they are mentally and physically. Um, and then just going from there. It takes as a trainer, you kind of like, oh man, I got to make these adjustments for this athlete. You know what I mean? It may be a small group setting or even a one-on-one setting, but you got to make those adjustments. If you feel like it or not. So making those adjustments and really just letting them know again, like I mentioned earlier, let's control what we can control in this moment. If you have a lower body injury, hey, look, we can still get the upper body and core work in, and even like some single leg work in. You know what I mean? Working around injuries, treating it as professionally as possible in a sense of just like when you look at the pros, when they get injured, you know, they may have a little bit of downtime, but they're immediately doing some type of, recovery or whatever, you know, uh, therapy or even, regular training sessions with modifications. So just treating it like, hey, look, we're not going to spend this time. being hard on ourselves, thinking about, what we could have done or what we should have done to prevent this. We're going to focus on how we're going to get back. And the time starts immediately. It doesn't start, after you have a little pity party for yourself. So just making sure that, keeping the athlete as locked in as possible, letting them know that, hey, look, even if you're not feeling the best, still come in. But my mindset has always been just, brick by brick. You know what I mean? Don't worry about, um, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, worry about that day, that given moment and get better in that moment. So when an athlete comes in injured, from a professional standpoint, communicating with their physical therapist, communicating with
Mhm.
whatever team that they have that's helping them through the recovery process. And again, complementing what they're doing outside of the gym. So if the physical therapist has them doing something, maybe I may add a little bit of an athletic touch to it to reinforce what they're doing in therapy, or I may just focus on everything that they didn't do in therapy. So it's just all about complementing what the athlete has going on, not having my own like game plan that I personally feel works best for them, having a game plan that is going to make sense science wise. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
a lot of people get away from what makes sense from a scientific standpoint. But I just try to stick to the basics as much as possible. And as a trainer who sticks to the basics, it can get boring at times. You know what I mean? Going through the same 7 to 8 movements every session, and just adding some accessory movement. But it can get boring. Sports has been around for a long time. We're not here to reinvent the wheel. We're here to, you know what I mean, elevate the game. And elevating the game comes with just bringing in the science, bringing in foundational things that's already been proven, and just modernizing what we can.
And that's really powerful. I think, yeah, being able to adjust, being able to make sure that somebody gets back on their feet, being able to go and be that person that's, like you said, all right, you went through, you had your rest, you had your pity party, whatever the case may be. Now it's time to get back to work because at the end of the day, we do have things to get to. We do have
Mm-hmm.
places that we're still trying to go despite the speed bump. That's, I think, something that we don't always touch on as athletes, that we kind of just try to just rub over
Mm-hmm.
that time of that recovery when you're coming back and it's difficult, it's hard. You don't always want to go to the gym, right?
Right.
You don't always want to deal with the recovery process. It's almost like you just want to be able to just snap your fingers and you're back. But there's a lot of work that goes into that, of course. Right. In terms of motivation, I would say that you have a very, 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 especially when it comes to strength coaches, a very unique motivation style. I remember years ago, you told me, look, I'm the type of guy, if you come in and you're not trying to work, then I'm not the trainer for you. You're not the type of guy that is going to yell and get in your face and be all loud, right? You have a very calm demeanor. You're gonna coach somebody through. You're gonna go and you're going to motivate them through the rep, but it's like a conversation. They're talking just like me and you're talking right now, rather than just going yelling, being like, "Come on, pick the weights," da, 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 da,"
Right.
right? So, what made you kind of be that way as a trainer? Because I even remember guys that you used to train that you stopped training possibly just because of that, because you're like, well, if you're coming in the weight room, if you're coming in to work out, you
Mm-hmm.
should already be motivated
Right.
to get to where you're trying to get to. Can you
Mm-hmm.
touch on that and what gave you that mentality to go about your motivation style in that way?
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess that style was kind of developed just from me going to school for psychology. So I went to
Yeah.
school for psychology. My older brother is a psychologist, so we had intentions of just, going into, starting our practice together. So just having that just baseline understanding of just like how the brain operates. Of course, there's times where you got to motivate, especially within team settings, where you got to yell, motivate, and all those good things. Especially when the workout gets tough. But when it comes to just day to day, just sessions, routine sessions, like if I have to yell and scream at you every single session, then like I told you years ago, this isn't the place or the trainer for you. Um, but I guess it just comes from just like understanding that there's a lot of just different dynamics that goes into an athlete's mental every day. Like yelling and screaming is not going to be the right approach for everybody, especially after they've been yelled at and coached up heavy. in whatever practice or skills work that they came into. So I just always had the approach of just like the program in itself is going to do the yelling and screaming. You know what I mean? The workout in the spreadsheet is going to do the yelling and screaming. So I don't have to do that part.
Oh, y'all, I'm laughing because y'all don't understand how true that is when it comes to this guy. Oh my goodness. You're gonna give me flashbacks. I'm never ever gonna forget me and Zion that one day and you had us, we were the first people that you had try to work out.
Mhm.
And I think I want to say the sets were 14, 12, 10, 8, 8
Right.
for every exercise. And there were, I want to say like four exercises in the format. And we on a lot of these exercises, our first time, we're the first people doing it. So we're trying to gauge the weight, and the weight that we're going at is heavier than is heavier than what we ended up should have going. And
Right.
John's gonna tell us this at the very end of the workout. And man, we were so mad that day.
Yeah, man. Like people who like with athletes these days, you get very small windows to like really give them workouts that are not going to, impact like some type of game day coming up. So like when I get you all and it's like a window of opportunity that y'all not in season or have something coming up, we gonna lock in, we gonna tap in, and we going, and that's not only gonna push you physically but also mentally. So there are gonna be some guinea pigs, some workouts that are going, get those, that need, some adjusting. But the guinea pigs end up, you know, getting the best of things that day, and I look out for them later.
And I mean, I'm saying all this to say you have, in my opinion, very difficult workouts, very hard workouts, not always in terms of the weight, but a lot of times, like you said, in terms of challenging you mentally, doing movements that you're not necessarily used to doing,
Hmm.
just doing different things to get you out your comfort zone when training, when preparing, because at the end of the day, a game, it doesn't have a script to it. So you have to be prepared for all these different things and strengthen your body so that you can get whatever advantage that you want. But one thing I can say about you, John, is your workouts, how hard they are. One, they don't only prepare you, but two, they really truly do give you a leg up because I mean, other people aren't doing that, right? And even aside from you, the proof is in the pudding, right? Just to let you guys know, for anybody watching, this guy, you know, he may not go and train in like the hugest, nicest, most newest gym, but what he does is world class without question. I mean, John, you've trained professional athletes, you've trained Olympians, you've trained Division 1 athletes, Division 2, Division 3, right? All the way you train. What's the youngest age group you train?
And I can start young, so I can start as young as 5 years old.
Right. So
So yeah,
5 years old all the way up to the rest of their life at the peak of their career.
right.
So I mean, the proof is in the pudding, and those days, those workouts like that. I mean, after that day, I think I kind of had a different mindset in terms of what I could do in the weight room on the court, just in terms of like hitting a wall of adversity when you're on set 3 and you got two more sets and you're just like, I want to pass out. But then you get through the whole workout and you're like, oh, I thought I hit, my wall. I thought I hit my peak, but I kept going. Um, so I think you do a very, very, very good job of that. And I mean, I think any athlete that's trained under you and trained under you for a long time would agree. I can't think of a single person that's trained with you since what high school that I know that hasn't gone on and done good, if not great things in those next levels that haven't gotten to those next levels, whether it be college or professional. Uh, so yeah, y'all, this guy, he's really, really world class to say the least.
I
To go
appreciate
on,
that, Lou. I appreciate that, Lou. And look, and just to chime in real quick, man, you're one of those athletes that steps into the gym, man. It's like, all right, bet I get a little break because I know Lou is going to motivate himself. He's going to motivate those around him. So I appreciate you, Lou, man. We've been locked in for a number of years, so your work ethic speaks for itself, man. So hats off to you.
Man, I appreciate you, and, my motivation style is a little bit different than yours. I'm not gonna yell, but I like to talk my trash here and there.
Right.
Whenever I'm in the gym with somebody and we're working, even if I'm struggling, I'm gonna talk a little bit of trash. Man, come on, you can put some more weight on the bar than that. You're not even tired. That's lightweight. You got it. Yada yada yada.
Right, right, right.
But I mean, and even with John, I will go in and he'll give me a workout. It'll be hard. I know it's hard beforehand. And kind of like he said, I'll go and I'll talk my trash. I'll be like,
Right.
John, whenever I come in, you're always giving me this or you're always giving me that. But then I go and I do the work and I do it to the best of my ability and I work hard. So that's just kind of the relationship that we've been able to build up. Um, to where it's like, John will even go and talk trash with me. And then he'll be like, all right, let's lock in. I'm doing a rep and he's recording me or he's coaching me up or whatever. And I'm receptive and, it all works together. Um, but I mean, I think that's one of the best ways you can go about it. One of the best relationships you can have, right? When it's like, all right, y'all can talk, y'all can like joke, whatever. In your little 1 minute break, 2 minute break in between reps, whatever the case. But when it's time to lock in, you lock in.
Mhm.
And yeah, but going on from there, right? Of course, you were an athlete when you were younger. Now you have sons, right? They're getting into their stuff. I remember one point you were talking about how they got into tennis. Now we're finished our training sessions. You're like, I gotta take my boys to football practice.
Mhm.
Man, tell me about that. How much of a full circle moment that is for you, being a guy that was an athlete. Now you train, and now you have kids of your own that are going and exploring as athletes as they get started and starting to find their own love for it. What is that experience like for you as a father?
Man, I'm actually fighting off one of them from getting in the camera right now, but but no, it's been cool. Like, and I kind of have the same exact approach as I do in the gym. Like, I try to offer them like a healthy, positive perspective, and just letting them know that, it's a journey. So, the comparison game at this age isn't the best approach to take, because there's so many years ahead of you. But when it comes down to it, like the full circle moment of just being out there, being able to coach them, being able to just take my experiences from working with athletes like yourself, Lou, and others, and just, being able to give them shortcuts and being able to see them fall in love with whatever sport that they're playing at that moment. And yeah, it's been a blessing because like I said, I was a little brother. So just having my sons and just having somebody that I can, show the ropes and just mentor, not only when it comes down to sports, but life and just your Christian walk and things of that nature. It's been a blessing and it's definitely been enjoyable and it definitely been a breath of fresh air being able to step outside the gym and get outside on those fields and just see what what's happening out there in the field and not just within those four walls of the gym.
And you just touched a little bit on, your faith, your Christian walk. Of course, you know me, so that's a big thing for us.
Hmm.
Uh, how does that impact you in terms of your training with that dog? And even as you're going and coaching your sons, as you're going, you know, just about how you interact with people.
Hmm.
How does
Yeah.
that impact that? Because I mean, you're dealing with all different types of people, all different types of personalities every day. You have me, who's going and working out and working hard and talking trash. And you have Keno Lilly, who's like might say 2 words for the whole workout, but he's
Right.
going and doing his own thing and working super duper hard.
Hmm.
So, how does your faith control or, go into how you interact with everybody on a daily basis?
Hmm. Yeah, I guess just having that level of discernment to see like uh, just when the appropriate time is to push on the gas, when in the appropriate time is to let off the gas a little bit, and then just being a stable source, a stable resource for them to rely on. A lot of times, because of my Christian walk, I'm able to understand and meet people where they are, and just being able to, you know, let it be known that my intentions are clean. My intentions are not to use you as a as kind of like a tool to, improve my professional career. But we're here together to put in the work and time and energy you know, um, to reach your goals. I came up off um, the motto like I am third, so God first, others second, myself third,
Mm.
and just that approach to just life and professionally and personally is definitely been like something that I can rely on in difficult situations and just within those four walls of the gym.
As we start to come to the end here, right? And that's powerful because, like you said, having that discernment is very, very, very important. You can't always lead everybody the same. You can't always treat everybody the same because everybody doesn't, take everything the same way. What would you say that, you got from your earlier days as an athlete, from going through your own adversities, from going through your own injuries, that to this day that you brought with you that you wouldn't give back,
That I want to give back.
that you would not give back,
Oh, what I would not give back.
would not give
Oh,
back?
oh, yeah, man, and just like the age of just like mental health, right? Like a lot of coaches back then used to say like things that people may consider like masculine, like toxic masculinity.
Hmm.
So just removing those toxic words like there's no crying inside this sport or, things like that. Just having a healthier approach to how we deliver information to athletes, like, you know what I mean? Just so they have a better perspective. So one of the things that I wouldn't bring into today's sports world is just like those toxic slogans or mottos that athletes have lived by in the past that have oftentimes led to injuries, like pushing through, not listening to your body, just pushing through for the sake of pushing through. Of course, those, there's their playoff moments or championship moments where you're not going to get this opportunity again. You got to push through. But earlier in the season, during the regular season, listening to your body, fighting through when appropriate, but pulling back and listen to your body when needed.
Man, that's powerful. I think in sports, there has been a lot of improvement in terms of that. Kind of like you said, mental health has been um, kind of catapulted to the forefront of what we do as athletes, how we deal, how we go about, competition. Because, you know, as a college athlete, right? And of course, you've been there, so you know this. You could have a good or bad day of practice, and it's like, all right, how do I get back even keel so that this doesn't uh affect the rest of my day,
Hmm.
right? And different things kind of like that. My last question for you today, this
Hmm.
of course being Uncontainable podcast, what does it mean to you to be uncontainable?
Man, it just means that like nobody can tell you what you're capable of, man. Like nobody can tell you that you can't do something. Um, you know, you don't have a ceiling because, mentally and spiritually, if you push through, God is going to look out. And just like I said earlier, continue to push, continue to um, control what you can control. And when you push through those walls, man, like I've seen you do dozens of times, there's a whole different world on the other side, a whole different world mentally, a whole different world spiritually and physically. So, pushing through, controlling what you can control, and and breaking those walls down.
Man, John, thank you so much, man. Like for real. I know you be having a busy schedule and everything. Um, and for y'all watching, I tell this man all the time, I promise y'all one day I'm going to find a workout so hard for him to do that he's gonna like almost tap out just as payback. But man, is really all love. I mean, I consider you as somebody that's part of my team, and I'm I'm proud to say that I had somebody like you on my team because in terms of people I surround myself with, I want to surround myself with good people, people that I could have around my family that I would be able to go and have on draft day with me there and all those type of things. So,
But
I'm honored to be able to have you as somebody that I put and have on my team and just on from there. Like I said, just thank you for joining me today, bro. This has been amazing.
no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
For sure. And for all the people watching out there, thank y'all for watching. Please stay tuned for more coming soon on the Uncontainable podcast by Lou Hutchinson.